Just recently, back in July 2022, Egosoft started a big player survey to find out what is going on in the X4 community and what do they want in the future from maybe changes in X4 or upcoming games. And we're going to talk about the results today. My name is Captain Collins. I cover a lot of news about X4. I also do a lot of tutorials about X4 and I cover also other games. If you want to see me live, go to twitch.tv/CaptainCollins. There you can find me live. And here on YouTube, you find a lot of other stuff too. Let's take a look at the results in order they are presented by Egosoft in this article. They are mentioning that almost 20,000 people participated in this survey, which is amazing. Like, that is just a fraction of the player base, and the player base seems to be gigantic, at least for a game like that. And I love that. Thank you very much for everyone that's playing and also for everyone that participated in the survey. Very important, before we start talking about the actual results of that survey, they pointed out that this is not a to-do list or something that they're going to address ASAP. It's more about getting a feeling of what the player base is looking for or what they want in the future. And with that, we're starting to analyze the 20,000 people first, how they play X4. First question was, how many hours have you invested in your most advanced save game so far? And there are more than 50% who invested 50 or more hours into this game. And there are even almost 40% which invested more than 100 hours into this game, which is crazy and I love it. They restarted the game a lot of times, at least 2 times, like more than 80% started at least 2 save games. And I guess this is due to DLCs that are coming in a range of a year in between them, so that people want to just simply start a new game, start with a new DLC. Egosoft themselves writes that they want to see people starting games even more often, and that's why they put emphasis into developing for you different ways to start your game, like for example with the custom game start that they added. Once budgeted, and for the people that really like to go over and beyond, the creative game start. Next one, which gameplay element of X4 do you enjoy the most? And here we got the most prominent answers: trading and fighting, of course. Designing and free exploration and missions are all above 10%, which is also a valuable thing to have in X4. And definitely, like, even if people are not saying that they're enjoying this the most, some of them do, a lot of the people like to do this stuff, maybe not the most. Egosoft addressed that with the diversity of X players, and I really see that. There are so many ways to play the game, and there is no right or wrong answer, even with weapons, with ships, and with the stuff that you take, the things that you do, where you go in your university, and so on. Now, 2 questions that can be connected to each other, and I first want to quote the answer from Egosoft. This is a question which has naturally led to many discussions within the community over the years. And we're of course talking about multiplayer. First question was, would you like to be able to play X4 with friends? I would have imagined that more people say yes. In this case, it's only 46% that told Egosoft in that survey yes. Maybe it's not the full representation, like I said, like not everyone participated in the survey, but 38% said wouldn't matter to me. Maybe there are people that would try it. So let's say we have a potential of 84% of people that want to try it. That is a good amount of people that would like to try multiplayer. And I would say that if Egosoft would implement a multiplayer mode into X4, into this game, or as I said a lot of times, into X5, because I think multiplayer, like we would think about multiplayer, is not really that possible in X4, then they would attract even more people. And the next question is, if you're interested in a multiplayer option, what would it ideally look like for you? For me, I answered online co-op, because that's like the best way I can see an X game working out, especially if you have like this closed universe and you're trying to get an empire running, maybe you can run an empire together. But here, 63% said the same. Online multiplayer, online co-op. 14% would like to see an MMO, which this would be wild. Let's just say it's wild. And 16% seen asynchronous multiplayer. This is like the venture mode or some kind of venture thing, but they're also developing it. They're still developing it. Let me quote it again. The multiverse online mode, originally announced in 2021, will be a first step in that direction. First step. We are still working on that multiverse online mode, which is fantastic, which is itself a development of the Ventures feature that was in some earlier versions of X4. A development, it will be better than Ventures. It is just the first step, so we can still be curious what is coming for our beloved game. And they say we're making good progress on that and are hopeful that we'll be able to tell you more about it 2023. To tell you more about it. And it was announced in 2021. Like, that should give you a scale on how difficult it is to put multiplayer into something already running. I like the next one. How satisfied are you with X4 today? You have from 1 not at all to 5 completely. And we see that at least 95% of the people are somewhat middle to completely satisfied with the game, with even more than 75% very satisfied to completely satisfied. This is amazing. A kind of a different story if you correlate these two things together. How satisfied are you with the game performance? There are definitely more people that tend to say the game could be running better. But here, Egosoft has got a very interesting answer to that. And here they are saying, quote, however, we are constantly working on improvements throughout our game engine to enhance the performance of X4. In the not too distant future, we hope to be able to start talking about the next big X4 upgrade or update 6.0, which will include our latest work in this area. This is meant performance. And now we're advancing to something which is very prominent in the X4 community, and I'm doing myself a modded run at this time we're talking about the mods for X4. This is like the first time for a long time that they asked you something about mods. First one, do you use game modifications when playing X4? More than 50%, 53% said yes in this survey. If you have used mods in X4, how many mods are you currently using? Almost 50% that use more than 5 mods. Well, it's not that excessive as like for Stellaris, for example. But still, there are people who use a lot of mods. And why do you use these mods in X4? 85% said to improve game elements that bother them, like quality of life or balancing, for example. 66% like to have more content, and I talk about people like, for example, that implement VRO in their games, or Rise of the Ocean Rider, Star Wars Interworlds, which is becoming more and more. I heard there is a new map and stuff. I really have to check that out. And then there are a few people who want to make the game harder and a few people that want to make the game easier. But here we have another interesting answer from Egosoft with another quote. With the introduction of the multiverse online mode, hopefully during 2023, we will be taking a closer look at the possibility of signing certain popular quality of life mods so that they do not prevent multiverse access, which is fantastic, so that your game is not completely flagged modded when you just use something like Sector Patrol or Sector Explorer that only changes like how your ships explore a system, but it really does not change anything balance-wise or brings in new stuff like new ships or whatever. It's only changing how a ship behaves to explore something. That could be signed and then not modify your game anymore. And like they say, a small side note, which is fantastic. They are bringing modders into their own team, so they are recruiting very good modders, very respected modders. And this year they started to work with Shul, that is responsible for VRO and many other mods, and Kurti, which is responsible for quality of life modifications. I used a lot of mods from these two guys, and they are now working for Egosoft. How cool is that? Next question, which type of controls do you use most often in X4? And 83% are using mouse and keyboard, which is, well, obvious, but I would have expected a few more people using HOTAS or gamepads, because I myself used a gamepad for a long time for flying, but I told you why I do this. I also use now a HOSAS, hands on stick and stick, though I think I will upgrade to have stick, and throttle at the same time, so that I have a lot of buttons to choose from. Well, what I like to do is I want to manage my whole system with mouse and keyboard, of course, doing the map stuff and whatsoever, but when I'm flying something, so I change into, I sit down, I go into the cockpit and fly something. I like the physical change of having a different input device, and then I'm going away from the controls. I lay down my controller and I go back to mouse and keyboard. I really like the transition, and X4 is fantastic for this transition. Next one, have you bought one expansion for X4? 93% said yes. Which expansion for X4 do you own? 98% Split Vendetta, because it makes the game so much better. Then 97% Cradle of Humanity. So there are a few people who bought Split Vendetta, but not Cradle of Humanity. I don't understand. You should definitely get Cradle of Humanity. And then just 77% Tides of Avarice. And which expansion do you like the most? 40% like Cradle of Humanity the most. Only 7 Split Vendetta and only 7 Tides of Avarice. And Egosoft analyzed that answers and thought for themselves, better ships tend to have a higher approval rating for their expansions, because I hope that they put, like they said, more emphasis on building better designed, better or more useful ships in the future, and maybe also bring in even more variety. Why not? We're still waiting for battleships for a few factions. We're still waiting for some other stuff. There's still a massive gap between an M ship and an L destroyer that, for example, mods like VRO and the ship variation expansion try to fill with a kind of a frigate class, or an in-between an M class and an L destroyer. Last question, how do you feel about the retail price of the X4 expansion? 66% said just right, 9% too expensive, 4% too cheap, and the rest had no opinion on this. When I see an expansion from, let's say, RimWorld, that's about 20 bucks, and for the stuff that they added into the game, I would say that the X4 expansion is really well priced for what you get. But that's just my thought. Do you have another thought? Comment it in the video down below. I'm reading every single comment in every single video, even in the videos that are 2 years old. And I want to quote another thing that they said in the last paragraph, which is, as mentioned in several articles and news items this year, we have not yet reached the end of our journey with X4 and are looking forward to telling you more about the short and medium-term future of the game as soon as we are ready to do so. There is no long-term future from this. Just as I always said, there are possibly a few things coming, but I would like to see them advance into the next game sooner than later. And I think 2023, maybe the end of 2023, is a good start for a new game, and that will maybe take a while until we see something new coming from Egosoft. But for now, we're waiting for the new update. 6.0 is now being mentioned for the first time. We look forward for that. We look forward for the Multiverse Online seasons. We look forward for the next possible DLC with better ships. Who knows? Better, bigger. We all like big ships, right? If you want to support me directly doing these or other videos, your best place is coffee.com/Captain Collins. The link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic place for content creators. They take 0% cut, and I can share there a lot of behind the scenes stuff like videos or articles about things that are happening around this or other stories. So have a good day. Thank you very much for watching this news article, and we'll see us for the next video. Bye.